The morning sun painted the sky orange above New Seoul Colony. 8-year-old Minho ran through the flower gardens behind his house, chasing butterflies that danced between the purple blooms. His mother Hana watched from the kitchen window while preparing breakfast. She smiled as her son laughed and tumbled in the soft grass. "Minho, come inside for breakfast," she called out. The boy waved at her but kept playing. He had found a particularly colorful butterfly and wanted to follow it to the edge of the garden. Ji-woo, Minho's father, sat at the kitchen table reviewing plans for the new water treatment facility. As the colony's chief engineer, he spent most mornings studying blueprints and checking construction schedules. The work was important. New Seoul was growing fast and they needed better systems to support more families. "The Peterson family arrives next week," Hana said, setting down a cup of coffee next to her husband. "Their daughter is about Minho's age. He'll have someone new to play with." Ji-woo nodded and looked up from his papers. "That's good. He needs more friends his age." He glanced out the window at his son. "Minho seems happy here." "Very happy," Hana agreed. "This is a good place to raise children." Either parent noticed the dark shapes moving across the sky above the clouds. Commander Vextal studied the human settlement through the viewing screen of his warship. The buildings looked primitive and weak. The humans had no defensive systems that his sensors could detect. No weapons platforms, no military vessels. Just a simple farming colony with maybe 3,000 people. "This will be easy," he told his second-in-command. The intelligence reports were correct. These humans are barely past the Stone Age of space travel. The Valthrian Empire had been expanding for over 1,000 years. They had conquered dozens of species and turned them into slaves or servants. Each new species followed the same pattern. First came the raids to capture specimens. Then came the demands for surrender. Finally came total conquest. Humans would be no different. "Begin the attack," Vextal ordered. "Take prisoners for the slave markets. Kill any who resist." The Valthrian ships dropped from orbit like falling stars. Their weapons lit up the morning sky with green fire. The first energy blasts hit the colony's power station, plunging half the settlement into darkness. Alarms began wailing across New Seoul. Minho looked up from chasing his butterfly. Strange lights filled the sky, and loud noises echoed from the direction of town. He had never heard sounds like these before. They made his stomach feel funny. "Mom," he called, but his voice was lost in the noise of explosions. Hana ran outside when she heard the first blast. She saw the alien ships descending toward the colony center. Her heart started racing. She had heard stories about alien raiders, but New Seoul was supposed to be safe. It was far from the main shipping lanes where pirates operated. "Ji-woo," she screamed toward the house. "Get the emergency communicator. We need to call for help." Ji-woo was already moving. He grabbed the long-range transmitter from the closet and began broadcasting distress signals on all frequencies. His hands shook as he spoke into the device. "This is New Seoul Colony. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Requesting immediate assistance. Repeat, we are under attack." The Valthrian landing craft touched down in the colony square. Tall, gray-skinned aliens with 4 arms emerged from the ships. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The colonists who tried to run were stunned by energy blasts and fell to the ground. Minho heard his mother calling his name, but he couldn't see her through the smoke that was starting to fill the air. He tried to run toward the house, but the ground shook from another explosion. He fell down and scraped his knee. A shadow fell over him. Minho looked up to see one of the gray aliens standing above him. The creature's eyes were large and black, like a shark's eyes. It reached down with 2 of its arms and grabbed the boy. "Mom!" Minho screamed. "Dad, help me!" The alien carried him toward one of the landing craft. Minho kicked and fought, but the creature was much stronger than any human. Other aliens were loading unconscious colonists into the ships. Some humans were already waking up and crying for their families. Hana ran through the smoke, following the sound of her son's voice. She saw the alien carrying Minho and ran faster than she had ever run before. "Put him down," she shouted. "He's just a child. Please don't hurt him." The alien looked at her with its cold black eyes. It said something in a language she didn't Understand. Then it spoke in broken English. Child will serve Empire. You cannot stop this. Please, Hana begged. Take me instead. He's only 8 years old. He's innocent. The alien ignored her and continued walking toward its ship. Hana tried to grab Minho, but another alien stunned her with an energy weapon. She fell to the ground, unable to move but still conscious. Jiwoo found his wife lying in the dirt. He knelt beside her as the alien ships began to lift off. Through the smoke and chaos, he could see his son's face in one of the ship's windows. Minho was crying and pressing his hands against the glass. We'll find him, Jiwoo whispered to Hana. I promise we'll get him back. The alien ships rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The attack had lasted only 20 minutes. 14 colonists were missing, including Minho. The rest were left to count their losses and tend their wounded. What the Velthrians didn't know was that Minho wasn't just any human child. His grandfather was Admiral Dong-hyun, the highest-ranking military officer in human space. His aunt was General Minji, commander of the most elite fighting force humanity had ever created. As Jiwoo helped his wife to her feet, he activated his personal communicator. The call he was about to make would change everything, not just for New Seoul but for the entire galaxy. The Velthrians had made a terrible mistake. They had just declared war on the most protective species in the known universe, and they had taken one of humanity's children. Admiral Dong-hyun was reviewing fleet deployment reports when the emergency signal came through. He sat in his command chair aboard the massive battleship Incheon, the flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computer systems and the occasional beep of incoming messages. Captain Kyung-min approached with a concerned expression. Admiral, we're receiving a priority distress call from New Seoul Colony. It's marked as family emergency. Dong-hyun looked up from his reports. New Seoul was where his son Jiwoo lived with his family. The Admiral rarely received personal calls. During duty hours, something was wrong. Put it through to my private screen, he ordered. Jiwoo's face appeared on the display. His eyes were red from crying and dirt streaked his face. Behind him, smoke still rose from damaged buildings. Dad, Jiwoo said, his voice breaking. They took Minho. Alien raiders attacked the colony and took him. The Admiral's blood turned cold. He stared at his son's face, not believing what he was hearing. What did you say? Aliens attacked us. They took 14 people, including Minho. Gray creatures with 4 arms. They said he would serve their empire. Jiwoo's hands shook as he spoke. They just carried him away like he was nothing, like he was just an animal. Dong-hyun closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his expression had changed completely. The loving grandfather was gone, replaced by the most dangerous military commander in human space. Send me all the data you have, he ordered. Ship designs, energy signatures, anything your sensors recorded. I want every detail. Dad, what are you going to do? I'm going to bring my grandson home, Dong-hyun replied. And I'm going to make sure these aliens never threaten another human child again. The call ended. Dong-hyun sat in silence for exactly 10 seconds. Then he stood and walked to the communication console. Open a channel to all fleet commanders, he announced. Priority Alpha, authorization Dong-hyun 77 Blue. Across human space, every major warship received the signal. Captains and admirals stopped what they were doing and listened to their supreme commander's words. This is Admiral Dong-hyun. As of this moment, the Terran Defense Fleet is at maximum alert. An alien force has attacked New Seoul Colony and taken 14 of our civilians, including children. We will find these aliens and we will rescue our people. All ships are to report readiness status within the hour. Dong-hyun out. The response was immediate. From Earth to the outer colonies, human warships began powering up their engines and weapon systems. Crews rushed to battle stations. Supply ships loaded ammunition and fuel. The entire human military machine began moving with one purpose. On Mars, General Minji was training new recruits when she received the message. She was Dong-hyun's sister and Minho's aunt. The general was known throughout the military for her tactical brilliance and her fierce protection of her soldiers. She called her aide, Colonel Sunwoo, to her office immediately. Sir, you look angry, Sun Wu observed when he entered. Someone took my nephew, Minji said simply. Alien raiders attacked New Seoul and kidnapped him along with 13 other civilians. Sun Wu had served under General Minji for 5 years. He had never seen her this focused or this dangerous. What are your orders, General? Activate Special Operations Division. Full deployment. I want our best teams ready to move within 6 hours. She turned to look out the window at the red Martian landscape. These aliens have no idea what they've done. Meanwhile, the Valthrian ships were traveling toward their home system. Commander Vextal was pleased with the raid. The humans had been even weaker than expected. No resistance at all. The specimens they captured would bring good prices in the slave markets. Minho sat in a small cage with 3 other humans from the colony. The adult colonist tried to comfort him, but he kept crying for his parents. The aliens had given them water and some kind of food paste, but nobody wanted to eat. It's going to be okay, whispered an older woman named Mrs. Park. Your parents will find help. Humans don't abandon their own. But Minho was too scared to believe her. He had never been away from his parents before. He didn't understand why the aliens had taken him or what they wanted. Vextal walked past the holding cells and looked at his prisoners. The humans were weak and frightened. They would make decent servants once they were properly trained. The young one might be worth keeping as a pet for some noble family. How long until we reach home frere? He asked his navigation officer. 6 days, Commander. Good. Send a message to the slave markets. Tell them we have fresh human specimens. Emphasize that they come from a newly discovered world with no military protection. The navigation officer nodded and began composing the message. Neither alien realized that human listening stations were already tracking their ship's quantum signature. The rescue mission was already beginning. On Earth, Commander Yuna of Intelligence Division was working with her team to analyze the attack. Data. She had the ship signatures from New Seoul and was running them through every database humanity had collected over centuries of space travel. Found them, announced her assistant Dr. Hyunwoo. The ships match Valthrian Empire designs. They're a major power in the Outer Rim sectors, known for slave trading and territorial expansion. Yuna studied the information on her screen. What do we know about their military capabilities? Substantial fleet but outdated technology. They rely on overwhelming numbers rather than advanced weapons. Their ships are tough but slow. Weaknesses? Their communication systems use quantum entanglement networks. If we can disrupt those, we can blind their entire fleet. Also, their society is highly hierarchical. Remove the leadership, and the lower ranks become confused and ineffective. Yuna smiled grimly. Send this analysis to Admiral Dongyun immediately, and prepare a full intelligence briefing on Valthrian space. Across the galaxy, other alien species were beginning to notice unusual human activity. Ships that normally carried cargo were being converted to troop transports. Research vessels were being equipped with military hardware. The humans were mobilizing on a scale nobody had seen before. Hajin was the human diplomatic representative on Nexus Station, a neutral trading post where dozens of species conducted business. He was having lunch with a Zephyrian trader when the alien suddenly looked nervous. Friend Hajin, the Zephyrian said quietly, my people are leaving this sector. Perhaps you should consider doing the same. Why? What's happening? The Zephyrian's large eyes showed genuine fear. The old ones remember stories. Stories about what happens when humans become truly angry. They say your species becomes something else entirely. Hajin didn't understand. What are you talking about? Young species like mine, we fight for territory or resources. But you humans, you fight for your children. And when you fight for your children, you don't stop until everything is ashes. That evening, Hajin received a message from Earth. As he read about the attack on New Seoul and the kidnapping of the children, he began to understand the Zephyrian's warning. Humanity was waking up, and when humanity woke up angry, the entire galaxy would shake. 3 days after the attack on New Seoul, Admiral Dong Hyun made a decision that would change galactic history. He activated Article 7 of the Human Colonial Charter, something that had never been used before. This article allowed the military to take control of all human assets during a species-wide emergency. Within hours, every human ship in space received new orders. Cargo vessels were told to report to the nearest military base for weapon installation. Research ships were converted into reconnaissance vessels. Even passenger liners were drafted into service as troop transports. Captain Sora commanded the yacht destroyer Busan when the orders came through. She had been escorting a trade convoy near the frontier when her communication officer received the emergency broadcast. All ships, all crews, all resources are now under military command. The message said, "We have 14 of our people in enemy hands. We will bring them home." Sora had never heard such determination in an official military communication. She immediately changed course toward the rally point coordinates that followed the message. "Ma'am," her tactical officer asked, "what about the convoy we're escorting?" "The convoy will have to wait," Sora replied. "Our people come first, always." The Busan was one of 300 ships that arrived at Rally Point Alpha within 2 days. Admiral Donghyun's flagship Incheon was already there, surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. But these weren't just military vessels. Converted cargo ships bristled with hastily installed weapons. Mining ships carried loads of explosives instead of ore. Even cruise ships had been turned into assault transports. On the bridge of the Incheon, Admiral Donghyun met with his senior commanders. General Minji had arrived from Mars with 2,000 special operations troops. Commander Yuna brought the latest intelligence on Velthrian space. "We've tracked their ships to the Korvash system," Yuna reported. "It's their primary slave trading hub, about 40 light-years from here." "Defenses?" asked General Minji. "Substantial. Orbital weapons platforms, defensive fleets, and ground-based installations. The Velthrians have controlled this system for over 2 centuries. Admiral Donghyun studied the tactical display. "They think they're safe there. They think humans are just another weak species they can abuse." "Sir," interjected Captain Kyungmin, "the scale of our response might be excessive for a rescue mission. 14 people against this entire fleet." The Admiral turned to face his aide. His expression was cold as space itself. "Captain, they didn't just take 14 people. They took our children. They looked at human children and decided those children would make good slaves." He paused, letting his words sink in. There is no response too excessive for that crime. Meanwhile, the Velthrian ship carrying Minho was approaching their home system. The boy had barely eaten in 3 days. He sat in his cage, crying quietly and asking when he could go home. Commander Vextal walked past the holding cells during his daily inspection. The human specimens were holding up well. The adults were trying to keep the young one calm, which showed they still had fight in them. Good. Slaves with spirit lasted longer. "Commander," his communication officer called from the bridge, "we're receiving priority messages from Home Fleet. Something about unusual activity in human space." Vextal laughed. "Let me guess. The humans are sending angry messages demanding we return their people." "No, sir. Intelligence reports show massive military mobilization. Every human ship in their territory is moving toward our borders." The commander's laughter stopped. "How many ships?" "Initial reports suggest over 1,000 vessels, sir, but many appear to be converted civilian craft. Probably a desperate show, a force to intimidate us." Vextal nodded. This made sense. Young species often gathered their entire space fleet when they felt threatened. It was meant to look impressive, but converted civilian ships were no match for proper warships. "Continue. To Homeport," he ordered. "If the humans want to throw their entire fleet against our defenses, they'll learn why the Velthrian Empire has ruled this sector for a millennium." Back at Rally Point Alpha, Dr. Hyunwoo was giving a briefing on Velthrian technology and tactics to the strike force commanders. "Their shields are strong but use rotating frequencies," he explained. "If we can synchronize our weapons to match their rotation, we can punch through their defenses." "What about their weapons?" asked Captain Sora. "Plasma-based energy weapons. Very effective against standard armor, but they have trouble with reflective surfaces. Our ship's new hull coating should deflect about 60% of their firepower." General Minji leaned forward. "Troop capabilities?" "Velthrians are physically strong but rely heavily on technology. Their society is extremely hierarchical. If we can eliminate their command structure, their ground forces will likely surrender or retreat. Psychological weaknesses? Asked Commander Yuna. Dr. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. They've never faced a species that fights like humans do. They're used to enemies who surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. They don't understand the concept of fighting to the death for family. Admiral Dong-Yun nodded. Then we'll teach them. The first wave of human ships entered Vielthrian space that evening. Captain Sora's destroyer Busan led a squadron of 20 vessels toward a supply station on the border. Their mission was simple: cut off enemy supply lines and send a message. The Vielthrian station had minimal defenses. It was mainly a refueling stop for cargo ships, not a military target. When the human ships appeared on their sensors, the station commander assumed they were lost traders. Unknown vessels, you are entering Vielthrian Empire space without authorization, the station broadcast. State your business or be destroyed. Captain Sora opened a channel to respond. This is Captain Sora of the Human Defense Force. You have 60 seconds to evacuate your station before we destroy it. The alien commander laughed. You dare threaten the Vielthrian Empire? You will regret this foolishness. 50 seconds, Sora replied calmly. The station's weapons came online, but they were too slow. The human ships opened fire with coordinated precision. Their weapons had been modified based on Dr. Hyunwoo's research, and the Vielthrian shields collapsed within moments. The station was destroyed in less than 2 minutes. Similar attacks were happening across Vielthrian border space. Human strike teams were hitting supply convoys, communication relays, and isolated outposts. Each attack was swift, precise, and devastating. On the Vielthrian homeworld, emergency meetings were being called. Reports were coming in from across their territory. Human ships were everywhere, striking without warning and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. How many ships do they have? Demanded the High Commander. Intelligence estimates suggest over 2,000 vessels now. Sir, but most are civilian conversions. They can't possibly sustain this kind of assault. Then why are our forces taking such heavy losses? The intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. Sir, the humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't retreat when outgunned. They don't surrender when faced with certain death, and their tactics are unlike anything in our databases. The High Commander studied the battle reports. In 3 days, the humans had destroyed 12 supply stations, 15 cargo convoys, and 4 patrol squadrons. But they hadn't attacked any major installations yet. What are they waiting for? He wondered aloud. The answer came the next morning, when a human transmission was broadcast throughout Vielthrian space. Admiral Dong-Hyun's face appeared on every screen in the Empire. I am Admiral Dong-Hyun of the Human Defense Force, he said. You have taken our children. You have 14 of our people in your custody, including an 8-year-old boy named Minho. The Admiral paused, his eyes showing the cold fury of an enraged father. Return them now, and we will withdraw from your space. Refuse, and we will dismantle your empire piece by piece until we find them. You have 24 hours to decide. The transmission ended, leaving the Vielthrian leadership in stunned silence. No species had ever delivered such an ultimatum to their empire. Sir? Asked the intelligence officer. How should we respond? The High Commander's pride would not allow him to negotiate with what he still saw as primitives. Prepare the home, fleet for battle. If the humans want war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. He had no idea that humanity was just getting started. The 24-hour deadline passed without a response from the Vielthrian Empire. Admiral Dong-Hyun had expected this. Military intelligence suggested the aliens were too proud to negotiate with what they saw as an inferior species. All units, the Admiral broadcast to the assembled human fleet, proceed with Operation Homecoming. Objective: locate and rescue our people. Rules of engagement: any Vielthrian vessel or installation that interferes with our mission is to be destroyed. The largest human fleet ever assembled moved into Vielthrian space like a tidal wave. Over 3,000 ships, ranging from mighty battleships to converted cargo vessels, advanced toward the Empire's core worlds. Meanwhile, Across the galaxy, other alien species watched the unfolding conflict with growing alarm. The Zephyrian Council called an emergency session on their homeworld. "The humans have gone to war," announced Elder Thanos to the assembled council. "Not for territory or resources, but for their captured young." "How many ships do they have?" asked a younger council member. "Intelligence reports suggest they've mobilized their entire space-capable fleet. Military, civilian, everything that can fly." "That's impossible. No species commits their entire infrastructure to a single military operation." Elder Thanos looked grim. "The humans have activated something called Article 7. It means they consider this a threat to their entire species." The younger aliens murmured among themselves. They had never heard of such a thing. "Elder," one of them asked, "what do the ancient records say about humanity?" Thanos was quiet for a long moment. "The records say that humans are the only species that grow stronger when you threaten their children. Most species become more cautious to protect their young. Humans become more dangerous." As the council debated, the human fleet was systematically destroying every Valthrian military installation they encountered. Captain Sora's destroyer Busan led the advance force, clearing a path for the main fleet. "Enemy squadron approaching," reported her tactical officer. 12 Valthrian heavy cruisers. "Signal the fleet," Sora ordered. "Attack pattern Delta. Show them what human tactics look like." The human ships moved with perfect coordination. Instead of charging directly at the enemy, they split into 3 groups and attacked from different angles. The Valthrian formation, designed to fight traditional battles, couldn't adapt fast enough. Within 15 minutes, all 12 enemy ships were destroyed. The human fleet had lost only 3 vessels. "Ma'am," her communication officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Valthrian flagship." "Put it through." A Valthrian officer appeared on the screen, his forearms gesturing in what appeared to be panic. "Human commander, we wish to negotiate. This conflict is unnecessary." Captain Sora's expression didn't change. "Return our people, and we'll withdraw. It's that simple. We cannot. The prisoners have already been sent to the capital for processing. But we can offer compensation. Valuable metals, technology, whatever you desire." "We desire our children back," Sora replied. "Nothing else matters." The transmission ended. Captain Sora turned to her crew. "Continue to the capital system, maximum speed." On the Valthrian homeworld, panic was spreading through the government. The human fleet had destroyed over 100 military installations in less than a week. Their tactics were unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Commander Vexital, who had originally captured the humans, was called to an emergency meeting with the High Command. "You said they were primitives," the High Commander accused. "You said they had no military capability." "Their ships were primitive," Vexital protested, "but they've somehow upgraded their entire fleet. They're using tactics we've never seen before." "Their tactics are irrelevant," another commander interjected. "We have the home defense fleet, 500 ships of the line. When they reach our system, we'll destroy them." But Engineer Tae-hyun, working aboard the human command ship, had already found a way to locate the prisoners. Using quantum signature tracking, his team had identified the exact location of the slave processing facility where Minho and the other captives were being held. "Admiral," Tae-hyun reported to Dong-hyun, "I found them. They're being held in a facility on the 3rd moon of the capital world. Defenses? Minimal. The facility is designed to hold prisoners, not withstand military assault. But it's heavily populated with civilians." Admiral Dong-hyun studied the tactical data. "Can we extract our people without harming the civilian population?" "Yes, sir. The facility is isolated from the main population centers. We can insert a special operations team while the fleet keeps the home defense force busy. Make it happen." General Minji was already preparing her team when she received the mission parameters. Specialist Yoonji, her best extraction operative, would lead the infiltration team. 12 targets, Minji briefed her team. 14 of our people, but 2 adults died during transport. Priority is the 8-year-old boy and the remaining children. "Resistance expected?" asked Yoonji. "Minimal. Their security is designed to keep prisoners in, not soldiers out. But work fast. We'll only have minutes before reinforcements arrive. The human fleet entered the Velthrian home system and immediately came under attack from the defense fleet. But instead of engaging in a traditional battle, Admiral Dong-yun ordered his ships to scatter and attack from multiple directions. The Velthrian formation, designed for classic ship-to-ship combat, became confused and ineffective. Human ships darted between the larger alien vessels, targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Their shields are collapsing, reported Captain Kyungmin from the Inchin's bridge. Our new weapons are more effective than projected. Continue the attack, Admiral Dong-hyun ordered. But remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to rescue our people. While the space battle raged overhead, Yoonji's team approached the prison moon in a stealth transport. The facility's sensors were focused on the space battle and didn't detect the small human craft. Team 1, you have the control center, Yoonji whispered into her communicator. Team 2, handle the guard stations. I'll go for the prisoners. The infiltration was flawless. Human special forces had trained for situations like this where precision and speed were more important than firepower. They moved through the facility like shadows, disabling security systems and neutralizing guards without raising alarms. Yoonji found the human prisoners in a high-security section of the facility. Minho was unconscious from sedatives, but the other captives were awake and alert. We're here to take you home, she whispered to them. Stay quiet and follow me. The rescued humans could barely believe what they were seeing. They had been told their species was primitive and helpless. But here were human soldiers, equipped with advanced weapons and moving with military precision. Team leader, one of her soldiers, reported, "We have a problem. The space battle is moving closer to the moon. If we don't leave soon, we might get caught in the crossfire." Understood, Yoonji replied. All teams, extract now. Mission complete. As the rescue team reached their transport, the space battle above reached its climax. The Velthrian defense fleet was in complete disarray. Their formation had been shattered by human tactics they couldn't counter. Commander Vextel, aboard his flagship, watched in horror as his empire's greatest fleet was systematically destroyed. The humans weren't just winning, they were demonstrating a level of military capability that the Velthrians had never imagined possible. Signal surrender, he ordered his communication officer. Sir? Signal surrender, Vextal repeated. We cannot win this battle. The transmission went out to Admiral Dong-hyun's flagship. The human admiral listened to the Velthrian commander's surrender offer with cold satisfaction. You can keep your empire, Dong-hyun replied. We just wanted our children back. But if you ever threaten human civilians again, we will return. And next time, we won't stop with one system. The rescue ship carrying Minho and the other captives docked with the Incheon. Admiral Dong-hyun was waiting in the hangar bay when the doors opened. The boy ran to his grandfather, crying with relief and joy. The admiral knelt down and held his grandson tight, tears streaming down his face. I told you we'd come for you, he whispered. The rescue was complete, but the effects of humanity's response would ripple through the galaxy for centuries to come. The Velthrians had learned a lesson that would spread to every corner of known space. Never threaten human children. The price was far too high. 6 months after the rescue of Minho and the other captives, the galaxy was a very different place. The human fleet had returned to their territory, but the effects of their campaign continued to spread like ripples in a pond. On New Seoul, Minho played in the same garden where he had been captured. His parents, Jiwoo and Hana, watched him more carefully now, but they tried not to let their fear show. The boy was slowly recovering from his ordeal, though he still had nightmares about the gray aliens. The new defense platforms are operational, Jiwoo reported to his wife as they sat on their porch. 3 orbital stations with enough firepower to protect the entire system. Hana nodded. Good, but I still can't believe how quickly everything changed. She was right. The human colonial charter had been revised to include permanent military protection for all settlements. No human colony would ever again be left defenseless. But the changes went far beyond military preparation. The human response to the Velthrian attack had shaken the entire galactic community. Ambassador Jungwoo stood before the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime, addressing representatives from over 100 species. The council chamber was more crowded than it had been in decades. Everyone wanted to hear what humanity had to say. 6 months ago, aliens attacked one of our colonies and kidnapped our children, Jungwoo began. Today, I stand before you not to apologize for our response, but to explain it. The alien representatives listened in complete silence. Many of you have